Writing a style for the Next.js application can be done in different ways. I will cover two of them, two primary. The first one would be writing in CSS, in pure CSS, and importing them inside the component. And the other that I will cover is by using third-party CSS libraries like Tailwind. I will cover that one as well here. Writing in CSS has two options. First, you can create a simple CSS file and write your CSS styles there, all the rules, all the classes, and then you can use them inside your pages. For example, here I have this layout.css, then I'm importing it directly like a simple import. It's not a link, or we should not use a link tag to link this CSS file to the head, because we don't have direct access to it. We can just directly import them, and Next.js will take care of the rest, and it will eventually import them into the page head. So for now, if I write, for example, something for body, background yellow, you can see it affects directly. So let me bring it back because it's annoying. But also you can define classes. For example, for this title, I want to make some changes, and I create a class, blog title, and then some styles, some random styles, that's fine, like this. And then I have to use it inside my component here. Class name equal. Now, as you see, it's working fine. If I try to change it to, for example, red, you see it's getting the styles. But putting them inside one file can be not the best option, because we are writing everything in the main layout CSS. It means on all the pages. Even if I don't have this component on my page, I'm adding this bunch of code to my final bundle, which is not fine. You can move them and create files next to your components. That's totally fine, like that CSS, for example, and then I put them here. Then inside my blog component, I'm going to import that CSS file. Import blog.css, like this. Now it's working fine. If I go to another page, for example, I have this shop page. Now here I don't have this CSS because I'm not importing it anywhere. And we can take a look also to make sure. Inside the element, then in the head, I'm not expecting, let me make it bigger as always, and zoom here, that CSS. You can see this chunk of CSS, and it's actually, if I open it into another page, it's that CSS that I've written in the layout CSS. It doesn't have the other one, which is blog. If I go back, but here I will see the blog component CSS, which is attached to my page. These rules. Also, if you want to use Sass instead of CSS, that's possible, but we are installing a new package which is called Sass. I have to stop it, npm Sass. And then after getting installed, you can simply use it right away. For example, here I changed the extension to SCSS, which is Sass format. Then here, for example, if I have a span inside my blog title, I want that span to be blue, for example. So here I will make some changes. I wrap it with span like this, and then let's refresh. Okay, I have to run the project, run dev. Let's refresh. And now I have to fix the import SCSS, and we are good. As you see, it's working fine. We don't need any extra configuration for supporting Sass, because after installing that package, Next.js will take care and knows how to deal with Sass files. But the other way around to work with these files, with these style files, is another convention that Next.js supports, and it allows us to import everything from the CSS file or Sass file as some classes, and we can use them like in JavaScript, inside the JavaScript hash map object. What we have to do is, first, the convention says that the name of the file should end with .module.scss or CSS. It doesn't matter. Then I have to import this instead of CSS, like this. And now, eventually, I have to import in another way, like this. Blog styles from. I'm importing everything from this file into an object called blog styles. And this one will have some key value pairs. And if I hover over it, you can see it is like a record. It has a key of string and the value of string. The way I can use it is by, instead of writing it in this way, blog title, and instead of writing a string and setting a string to class titles, I can import and use this object like this, then blog as the title. And those are coming, and it's working fine. And those are coming from those classes that I have defined into this CSS module, blog title. Or for example, if I have another object, let's say my list style none, like this. And list is a very generic name. If I use this, and if I'm in a big project, there's a chance to have some conflicts because that list seems to be used a lot by others, right? But this is exactly the thing that this module, that CSS convention, is here to solve it. If I write something like this, a very generic name, Next.js will convert these names to something else, to something unique to this component that is importing this module. So let's try and see what would be the difference. I assign it to class name here, to my UL, and then I would say list. Now my list doesn't have those bullet points, and if I inspect the list, you can see the class name is not actually the list itself. It will be hash code, then the list itself. Let's take a look. Let me zoom, and you see the class name has become blog module SCSS module underscore a hash key underscore list. And this is a way that they can prevent those conflicts that can happen within different modules. So again, if I create another one for my top selling component, I call it top selling, top dash selling, that module.scss, and then if I import it inside my top selling component, import the same way. Let's import like this, import top selling size from that file. And then I will use it somewhere like here. That's totally fine. And here I have the same class name inside this top setting, but it's not going to become the same name eventually when I am using it. Let's take a look. If I refresh, I'm getting an error because of this wrong name. Okay, now we're good. Now this one, I'm assuming that one of these has got this name. Yeah, for it here. You see, both are having this underscore list at the end, but the rest of the name of that class is totally different. This is the way you can prevent them by just simply import CSS or SCSS, or which is Sass files into an object. Then inside that object, you will have all the classes that you have defined here directly into your code. And you don't need to be worried about what would be eventually be converted and what would be the name that Next.js will generate. We just directly use the name that we defined here, and over here we use them. And also good to know that if I, for example, here, I define something like list item, the way I can use it is by using them, not anything else other than list item. Like this one, for example, class name should be top selling list item. It means that nested classes can be addressed directly inside your components. So let's take a look. You see it's working fine. You don't need to be worried about it is nested, how to find its name. You just simply grab the class name and use it inside your classes. And now I want to show you how it would become bundled when you try to build the project. So let me stop the project first. Control C, then npm run build. If I zoom, because I don't need it anymore. Now inside that next folder, then server, then app, not app actually, but inside this next folder, that static or static CSS, you can see some CSS files have been generated. For example, this one has this blog title, something, then blog title, another thing. Those are generated and minified, as you can see. For example, this one also, it doesn't have anything because probably we haven't used this one. But yeah, that's the way it works. B8F9. If I take a look into the server app, for example, index, I should be able to see that file which is attached to the head. And this is not the one, but yeah, this one, B8F9. Now it's attached and it is linked into the head of that generated HTML file for me. And that really makes our life easier. We just write our CSS and we import them directly into our pages or components, and Next.js will take care of the rest by minifying them, by attaching them to the page. And also, if we use this convention, it will generate those hash keys for classes that will prevent conflicts, CSS conflicts. Okay, the next topic would be how to use external libraries, CSS libraries such as Tailwind. If you generate a project with the CLI, at some point it asks you if you want to use Tailwind or no. So I selected that option. That's why I have this Tailwind config and Tailwind package installed in my package.json. But if you don't have it, and if you haven't chosen that, you can simply install it later. The way it works, you have to install a package. Let me clean, and this is the command npm install -d Tailwind CSS post CSS auto prefixer, and then let me install. Also, you need to initialize your Tailwind by running this command npx Tailwind CSS init -p, and it will generate a Tailwind config file for you. As you see, it's generated this JS file, but also since I used to have this TS file, that would be also fine, because Tailwind eventually will look for one of these items. But if you go with this, you can see that, and if you don't have this TS file, that's fine. You can see it has some rules and some configurations that you have to take care, because the way that Tailwind works is that it looks into your files and see what kind of classes of Tailwind you have used. And out of those classes that you have used, it will generate a file, a CSS file, which has only those required CSS, and it will be a huge saving in terms of bundling and not generating unnecessary codes and CSS for you. So in here, in this Tailwind config.js, we have to define and say what kind of files it should look into to find those Tailwind classes. And you can define some patterns. For example, I'm grabbing some file patterns from Next.js configs, from Next.js documentations like this, and it says that inside the app, or if you're using the pages pattern that I don't recommend, I can get rid of this. It says that inside the app folder and all the folders, if you find any kind of files that ends with JSTS, JSX, TSX, MDX, it can be an input for Tailwind, and it will generate styles out of them. And something else that you have to take care is that inside your global CSS or layout CSS, the one that you will be sure that it will be imported for all the routes, all the pages, you have to import some classes or some partial files from Tailwind. And the way it works, I can simply copy these lines of code, Tailwind based components and utilities, and you're done. Now from now on, you can, because you can use Tailwind classes in your project. For example, if I go to the shop here, and let me also here go to the shop page and run the project. All right, you see in the shop page, I have this title, but it's not taking any classes. Actually, it is getting the classes from the Tailwind reset codes. And CSS reset is something that CSS libraries write some bunch of codes to make sure all the browsers will see the exact same thing, no matter of the configurations. And then from now on that we have a base and pure view, we can start writing codes. For example, here for this H1, I want to make the text bigger, so I can simply say class name and then text XL, for example, or 4XL, and then it becomes 4XL. Or I want to make it blue. I write blue, then you see all the variations or all the classes that has this blue comes in, and you can select, for example, here text blue is the one we are looking, blue 500, and now it's blue. And if you want to learn more about Tailwind, of course, you can take a look into the Tailwind CSS itself, and read all the documentations, what kind of classes it has, how to use it. It has almost everything that you need to design whatever you want. But I don't want to go into it because it's out of the scope of this course. But yeah, that's it from styling in Next.js. Please let me know how you think, and if you have any questions, feel free to ask me in the comment section.